No, I almost went to Michigan skiing on this mountain, and they really didn't have much snow there either last year, so
Mm,
it was goofy.
yeah, it was. I'll take another winter like that, but not if you're a snowmobile. Just like- I don't think there's a whole lot of us that would be complaining other than us winter sports advocates.
There's somebody in our group. I don't know if he's still around. I remember like 10 years ago, he's a farmer, and he just said he loves the winter because then it's time to play if you're a farmer. So
Right, exactly. Little downtime. I got a lot of farming buddies, and they actually love this time of year. It's cash time and downtime.
yeah. How did
Exactly.
you? Who are you working with here? How did you find out?
For
Uh,
me,
yeah,
who am I working for the mortgage?
yeah. I mean, when you did a deal with us or something, when you reached out to us, I'm not really sure.
Well, I'm with NRG as a realtor, number one. But number two, I've been with Zip Mortgage for quite a few years.
Oh yeah, Zip.
Yeah, zippity doo dah. I call it zippity doo dah.
I do you know Jason Borster?
Yeah, I know of them. I don't
Yeah,
know them personally.
he owns that 100% mortgage brokerage. You tried to start kind of like the real estate brokerage.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mentioned you were on today. He said,
good.
when's she gonna join our group?
I don't know. I got a pretty good setup how I am, but I'm always open to options.
Yeah, he holds his license here too.
Yeah, yeah. I like who I work for now. Really good company. We actually, Randy, have over 40 lenders, so that's
Yep.
kind of a hard one to beat. But you never know.
Where is Zip out of?
It's actually based out of Siren, Wisconsin, although I'm based yeah, out of the North Metro area here. And it's not a really huge company, to be honest, but they're licensed in probably about 7 or 8 states right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a lot of family in Siren.
Do you?
Yep.
It's a pretty area up there.
Yeah.
We were thinking about getting a short-term vacation rental up there and doing a like a DSCR loan on it,
Yeah.
just for investment. Yeah.
If you have that, you can talk about that loan. I had some couple Airbnb rentals on South Center Lake, and I just gave some guy a contract on them, so I didn't have to deal with the renters anymore.
The
I figured
renters.
I could get close to 10% interest, which I didn't quite get, but I think I got seven
Right.
and a half. But when I do the math, the property value is equivalent, the interest I'm getting is equivalent to the rental income I got, but I'm losing out
Oh,
land appreciation. So,
there's a company called Evolve. Have you ever heard of that?
yep, I used them for a while.
How'd you like them?
Well,
I've never used them. That's why I asked.
if anybody's listening, we're talking about vacation rentals and the company Evolve. They just kind of they're a middleman between Airbnb and VRBO. So for me,
Yeah,
I only had successful listings active when I hired them, and it was
I
just a
see.
conflict. So I wound up getting rid of them. But if
Sure.
you're starting out brand new, I would say call them because they'll get the gateway to all the a handful of different places, so you don't have to sign up
Yeah.
individually. Hey
Yeah, I've
Max,
never used them.
yeah, Max is on. He just got back from Mexico.
Oh, hola.
I see Betty. She's ready to move down to Florida for the rest of the year.
Is
Yeah.
she going down too?
I guess it's 9:34. So if you wanna, I don't know if anybody
Okay.
has specific questions about mortgage stuff. I don't expect a huge turnout because we get a handful of conversations with mortgage
Yep.
brokers.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of get going here and we'll try to make it as brief as possible, not try to bore you guys to death because I'm sure everybody comes on and says they have the greatest product, work with me. I'm the best thing since sliced cheese, etc. Really, there's a couple different things. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Holly Nelson. I'm with Zip Mortgage, as you probably have heard Randy and I chatting back and forth about. Um, some of you folks have already probably worked with me, some of you have not. So hello to my past little buddies out there, if you will. And I'm a little bit different than a traditional bank, if you will, because as I had told Randy earlier, I work with actually over 40 different lenders. So as a broker, we have tons of different things that we can go to, and a lot of brokers do, but we have ins with some companies that others just don't have right now. So what I'm going to do today, hopefully, is educate you a little bit on some concerns actually that you probably have as well working with mortgage people, and what we actually found interestingly enough through a survey that we conducted. I'm going to show you also how we can make you look a lot better and probably get more business with some of our free cross marketing materials that we offer you guys, right? So that's something a little bit different that we do as well. And then I'm going to talk about some really unique loan programs that are out there right now. And if you want to take a look at those with any of your guys that are pre-qualified or even yourself right now. Some of these programs are really amazing. And I'll tell you one thing, the first question people ask me, Randy, is where are interest rates right now, right? So before election, they dipped down a little bit. They went up just a little bit now. I would say good credit, etc. If you're going to be like the prime candidate, you're probably in the sixes for a 30-year. However, one of our loan programs rather that we're going to talk about in just a second here, we can actually get you down in the 4% range. So interesting, right? So we're going to rock and roll on that. Any questions that you guys have as we go through, put them in the chat and we'll kind of address them at the end just so that we can keep moving forward and hopefully don't bore everybody today. Okay. So let me see. I'm going to try to pull up here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to pull up our show that we have. Our showtime. It's showtime. No tickets needed. Hang on just a second here. I'm going to share my screen. One moment. Um, there we go. All right. Let me see here. One moment. I want to make that little. I'm going to make you bigger. Now we're going to go up here. Can everybody see that screen that I'm sharing right now? Randy, can you see that?
Yeah, we can see
Yeah,
it.
we can see it. Okay, great. I'm going to make it bigger just so it's so impressive, I'm just saying. So we're going to just go ahead and obviously it's just a little 15-second intro we'll do. So that kind of just explains what I've kind of talked about already to get going on that. And we're going to actually call this series today, and we're going to try to make it fun because I know sometimes talking about mortgages and all this stuff can be overwhelming, boring, but that's not me. So we're going to kind of rock through it and make it a little bit of fun. It's called Did You Know Series. Here we go. So I'm kind of interested actually, what your guys' number one complaint you have when working with your mortgage loan officers. I don't know if you are willing to do a little survey, put it in the chat. I'm just kind of curious on that. Randy, maybe if you want to read those off once they put those in quickly, that'll give us kind of a game plan to move forward here. And it'll save me going back and forth on screens. And by the way, I am from the sales side too, guys. I hold my real estate license, but I never compete with my realtors in regards to trying to take their realty clients. I've heard that actually from other co-licensed people, and I think that's kind of a cruddy deal. So just keep that in mind that that's not the case.
You've had it here since April, I think, right?
I'd say that, yeah, yeah, I think somewhere in that realm. So, I'll tell you one thing. We actually did a survey, right? And we did this survey not too long ago. Oh gosh, I think we surveyed almost 50 agents. And the top three complaints that they said that they were having with their loan officers was A, not closing on time, right? A real lack of communication, like raising crickets. In other words, here's a business. Oh, what? We're having problems the day before closing. Yeah, I'm sure none of you have ever run into that because I used to. And then, of course, they don't follow up on the given leads over to them. And then they end up either dropping the client or something happens in that nature. So, honestly, I don't think there's anybody that's available 24/7 more so than me. It's probably a downfall in my world. I should be a 9 to 5er, right? But I also know from the sales side, when you need an answer, and you need it now. So that's a good thing. So that's kind of we're working the butt off to make sure we come in and close on time. I can honestly say in all my years of doing this, Randy, that we have never, ever not had a loan close. And that's pretty good. We've had a few come close, I'm not gonna lie. And only because of something stupid that the buyer had done, like buy something they weren't supposed to, just before closing, but we were able to work around it. So there's been a few thin ice ones, but we have always gotten them closed. And one really cool thing is, I think is really good for you guys as realtors. Every time that we touch base with our buyers, we actually touch base with you. So in other words, hey, I'm still like weekly. If I am waiting for paperwork or documents from them, typical, I'm going to email you and say, hey, Amanda, for instance, I'm waiting for documents, but everything's cool. Now, here's another thing. If a fire does come up, which, that never happens in real estate, right? Yeah, it does. And instead of hiding out behind the bushes, so to speak, and hoping it goes away, we can't do that. We have to address it. Again, keeping you in the loop. You might not want the phone call, but at least you're going to know what's going on. But on the other hand, too, we're always offering a solution so that we know how to fix it. And on the lead follow up, I tell you, I think I contact every lead that's sent over to me within 15 minutes. So that's always a good thing too. This is just kind of competitor analysis. It's a really cool slide though, right? Nothing too exciting, but similar products of other competitors, but those are some ways that set us apart from them. So now, let's get to the really fun part. So I always say, let's create something great together. And when I say that, I'm really looking at how we as lenders can help you guys in the sales field look like rock stars to your clients, right? Promote the heck out of you with every client. And then also, we are offering some really cool cross marketing materials to launch you into that superstar status. And I'll show you some examples of those here coming up here in just a second here. Let me take a peek here. All righty, here we go. Get ready. Hold on, here it comes. So there is a new program out there, fairly new, and we don't know how long it's going to be running, but it is running right now. And your buyers that are within 80% of the median income of the area that they're buying, which is actually pretty high. You'd think that that wouldn't be as high, but it actually is really high. I would say probably 80% of people that apply for this in that price, in that income range meet that. So what this is a 1% down payment program, meaning if you have a house that is $350,000, their down payment is only going to be $3,500. And this lender that we work with, right, offers up to $7,000 down payment grant, free money at closing, never has to be repaid. And the kicker of it is it does not have to be a first-time home buyer. It can be anywhere in the state. There's not limitations on that. So that is super great. It's been really, really popular as well. So here's an example, guys, of what I'm talking about in some of the cross-marketing material examples. Okay. And this is a flyer that we put together for one of our agents, or agent examples, excuse me. And this is something that you can use for your listings. Okay. Why is this important? It really is important, I think, because it shows professionalism. And also, I'll tell you, if you're going into list a property as well, okay, and you're going to go into list a property and you want something like this to kind of stand out and say, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm going to actually be working above and beyond the next 9 agents that are coming through your door. And this is an example of how we do it. We show the buyers what your payment potentially could be. We showcase your house in a nice, marketing material. And maybe you guys have some of this as well. And we're open to working with some different designs and so forth too. But this is kind of an example of that as well. So this talks about the 1% down payment. Now here's another one as well. different property, different background, like I say, totally customizable. Actually, this particular agent, Tammy, liked this background better because she said it used less ink in her printing, which I can understand. We have a commercial printer, but I understand a lot of folks don't, either at home or whatever. So that worked out well too. So, great, you got all this cross-marketing material. What do you do with it to even get more business? Well, you actually can use these email. I always say this. I just actually talked to an agent here last Thursday, and I did one of these marketing flyers for her on a property that had been sitting. And this property needed to go conventional, which both of these previous program, both that program that I'm just talking about, that 1% one is a conventional loan. And the next program I'm going to talk about as well is a conventional loan. But anyway, I did this marketing for her. And I said, I want you to email it to your seller and ask your seller to email it to all of her friends. In this property had sat on the market, well, for about I think 4.5 months, and they were desperate to get rid of it because they had a pending offer on another property. And long story short, they did that, and that property went into contract based upon one of her friends that had received that flyer through the email. So, the old spreading like wildfire, if you will. That's kind of what happens in today's social world, right? So I say email them to your client, ask them to share with their friends. I have found that a lot of times people love talking about their home being listed, right? They like to, showcase it themselves. People are proud of their homes, so why not give them the materials to pass along as well? Hand them out at open houses. Again, makes you look professional, but even more so than that, it really gives anybody that walks into that open house an idea on what their payment could look like, because that's a real big question. They don't know how much is a payment. Can I afford this? What is it going to look like? And that just spells it right out, right on that. And I don't know if anybody even does mailings to the neighborhood around the listings anymore. We used to. I don't know how prevalent it is anymore, to be honest, guys. But again, by doing that, it shows the professionalism, the link, but also as well, a lot of these neighbors might be thinking of selling too. And if they see you're putting together these professional materials and reaching out as well, you'd be surprised. A lot of times you're going to get calls on that as well. And again, just email marketing campaigns, just really simple things that you can use on that. And the cost is free to you. I mean, we'll do it for you and send it over. So here's another one. This is just another example. This is a more higher end property, right? 800,000 up in Anoka. Beautiful home. But the payment, is about 3,500 on this one at the time that we priced it out. But again, just a good marketing flyer that we can use. If you notice, guys, we're going to actually showcase your photograph, your name, your license number, your phone number, if you want a web address on there. It's all very customizable. So we have staff in office here that actually do all that for us. So any request usually can be made. Okay. Now, I don't know how many of you guys are actually renters. I know a lot of our agent friends still are renting. We have an opportunity right now where we're actually going to be doing some mailing marketing, and we're looking for partners to actually partner with us to do this. This is one of our postcard examples that we have done in the past. But it's interesting when you start talking to renters, right? A lot of them don't realize how much money they're actually wasting throwing money out the window, right? I always tell my clients, I said, yeah, you can drive down the road in your truck, roll down the window, and throw all that money out the window because you're guaranteed not to see that again. Whereas if you invested in real estate, in historic terms, usually it's going to grow, you know. But this is interesting. Look, even if your rent is $2,000 a month and you've been there for, say, 3 years, which is not unrealistic when you're renting, that's almost 100 grand. $96,000. Can you believe that? And that's just gone. You'll never see it again. Great for landlords, but not so much of those that want to get into buying. So that's an option too, guys. We'd love to work with you on that. So here's another really cool, this is a really cool program, guys, that just came in. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with a 2-1 rate buy down. And what that really means is that your standard interest rate is, say, let's just give a rough number of 6%. The first year is 2% lower than that. So it's at 4%. See what I was talking about? We can get you in the 4%, right? The second year it goes to 5%. The third year it goes 6% until the term of the loan ends. Um, Normally, the buyers have to pay for this wonderful privilege, excuse me, of getting this. But right now, one of our lenders is actually paying that on our behalf of doing it. Again, not only for first-time home buyers. So who's this really good for, guys? This is really great for a lot of people that know that they're going to be getting increased income in their jobs in the next 2 years. Maybe they're just new in the field. They know that they're going to be getting increases and so forth. And it allows them really a lower house payment the first 2 years. And I'll show you what that looks like. It's kind of interesting. So let's say you have a house that's $350,000. Your down payment is 10 grand. So your amount, is about 339,500. Rough numbers again, like I say. So a normal 30-year ballpark rate, just as an example, may be 6% or so. So your payment on the principal and interest is about $2,035. But in this program, the 2-1 rate buy down, that's free to these guys, your first year would be at 4% interest. And the difference of payment drops that down to $1,620. That's a huge savings. I think if I calculated that out in my head right, it's about five, 5 or 6 grand, give or take. And that's just rough numbers in my head. So if I'm off a little bit, you'll have to kind of hang in there with me. But the rates are, actually very competitive in that they're not, like jacked up or anything like that. So it's actually a really great deal. Randy, you and I were talking about earlier some of the different loan programs, and I know you've had some investments in the past, and we were going to talk about a program that I actually don't have listed on here, but it's called a DSCR loan. And a DSCR loan is great actually for realtors who want to get into investing. It's called debt service. It's basically a debt service ratio loan. And what that means is that you can take a property, and I believe it's 20% down payment is required. But you can take a property and you can actually get a loan against that property for an investment, long-term or short-term rental, and you don't have to show any income docs, no tax returns, no any of that stuff. It's all based upon the value of the property and what you think the property is going to rent for. So it's a great way to get into the rental market. I love this loan. I've used this loan personally myself many times, and I wish I would have known about it when I was younger. And I'm older now, so older and wiser. But I wish I would have known about this, you know, 25 years ago if it was even in existence. So that's really cool. It's called a DSCR loan. Okay. Um, there is also things that are probably not as well known. Did you guys know that your buyers can actually buy land and build a home or move in a mobile home for zero down on, I believe, USDA and FHA? So a lot of those are kind of interesting. Now, USDA has a rural area aspect, meaning it's kind of just on the outskirts of the metro and out further, right? It's a rural development loan, and that's a great loan, very popular here in Minnesota as well. And the rest of these are kind of pretty much similar that you've seen as well. We do have some down self-employment income too. One of the interesting self-employment ones, guys, is that for those that of us that are self-employed, right, when you get down to the books at the end of the year, it might not show a great, fabulous number as what we really made because of all the depreciationable things that are in there, right? but we can actually use what's called a bank statement, in meaning that we can utilize a percentage of your gross income that you reported into your bank statements. Some interesting things on that, anyways. Um, Popular in Minnesota, actually becoming more and more popular all over. Mobile homes and modular homes. There's a lot of lenders that won't touch them. And I've done a lot of modular and mobile homes. Although we can do single wides, I don't tend to focus into that. I tell them they're probably better off going and getting a personal loan on something like that just for interest rate factor. But double wides, triple wides, all that sort of thing are actually financed very similar to a traditional stick-built house. So kind of an interesting aspect there. So keep that in mind because boy, when you have something like that, or if you're showing something like that, you're thinking, oh gosh, what's the financing going to come through? Well, we can do it. Okay. This is what I was talking about on that zero down USDA. So how does that work really? So basically, let's say you're going to go out and you're looking at land and you find this piece of land. It's got the beautiful pine trees, a little creek. You just love it and it's 100 grand and you're like, oh dear gracious, how do I ever afford that and then afford to build? Well, we actually fund the land and then also fund the construction and do a one-time close on it. So it's kind of interesting. People aren't always aware that you can actually get into that for zero down on the USDA loan. So, this is a super great, awesome. I hopefully everybody's still awake and we haven't put anybody to sleep yet. I know it's not always the most exciting subject in life. Um, but gosh, you get some free cross marketing materials, super great programs, like I say, better than your bank. In fact, we've never had anybody come to us after going to their bank that has gone back to their bank. So, and then you get, super cool loan officer, aka me, to work with. And after hours, same day pre-approvals too, guys. So that's really important if you're looking at things too. A couple other things I wanted to just quick mention. Here's my contact info as well, folks. So if you are interested, take a screenshot or a photo with your phone, and that would be super great as well. But a couple other things, we just had kind of something new that we launched out on. And it was actually brought up to me by one of my realtor colleagues. And what it was is when they go and do the open houses, and you guys do too, I'm assuming you have some sort of log to log in who's coming in, contact info, and so forth. Well, one of the things that they asked us to do is to reach out to those people that came to the open house and ask if we can help pre-qualify them. But I kind of took it one step further, not only doing that, let's say, for instance, the agent was Rebecca, so and so. I'd call and say, Rebecca wanted me to reach out, thanking you to come to this open house. Really appreciated seeing you. Is there something that we can do to help you pre-qualify, find out what payments could possibly look like on this, etc.? Because Rebecca would really like to work with you on it. And we try to shoot it right back to you guys on it. Because ultimately, if we can stay in the same circle, that's, win-win for everybody. So that's kind of an interesting way of looking at it there too. Gosh, that's really what I got for today. I tried to keep it as short as possible. I know you didn't want to hear probably a 2 hour long spiel about all that wonderful thing there. But I am looking, we have openings right now for a few more realtor buddies to come on board with us. And I would also like to see if anybody is interested in doing some cross marketing out to renters, like I showed you in the flyers there too. So that's kind of it. Anybody have questions? We can put them in the chat, or is anybody still awake out there? Are we are we out? Hi, Peter.
Hi. Just on the DSCR loan, what's kind of the typical down payment look like on that?
20%.
Okay.
You can put more down, but it's 20%, and that's the appraised value on it. So here's how that DSCR loan works. The DSCR loan goes from let's say let me explain this. The rent has to cover the payment on the mortgage. So if it can go anywhere from 0.75 up to 1.25 of that percentage range. And the lower you are on that, the lower the interest rate, the higher, the more like a quarter point hit is what it takes. But it's a great loan. They close in 30 days. Conventional loan. You can buy property. You can even do a DSCR loan, I believe. I'm gonna have to check with one of my lenders, so don't hold me to it, but I believe even that needs rehab on it, and I believe they'll refinance that as well if you have a contractor on it. Does
And
that help answer
yeah,
that?
and if the tenant defaults or, there's an eviction situation, are you covering that cost?
No, that has to do more with a rental management versus the actual um, mortgage to get onto the property itself. Yeah. I will tell you this though, and this is not legal advice, but I used to be a landlord years and years and years ago. And a buddy of mine who is now passed on had over 75 different rentals. And he told me at that time, he said, never put them in a year's lease. And I said, you're crazy. Why wouldn't you want to do that? He said, because then you have to go through the eviction process if you had to. And if you're on a month by month, it's a 30-day notice in the state of Minnesota. Now, you'll have to check on that to see because I don't have any rentals right now, how accurate that is still. But it's just something from old school that I had heard. So, something to give you a little bit of a clue.
Yeah,
Hey, Jeff.
I have another question on that DSCR. So I know like in the past when I didn't know about that loan, you had to have like a rental history to include that income to getting approved for the mortgage for
No,
like for a rental, no?
well, no. I think it may have changed, or you may be thinking of one of two things. So a DSCR, you don't have to have, you have to have decent credit. You can't have a 500 credit score. I mean, it's just not going to fly with that. But if you have fair credit, or decent credit at least, it's not based on any of that rental stuff. In other words, you don't even have to have a rental contract in place because they actually have systems where they can go in and see what average rent would be to be expected out of that property would be. And they never used to really do short-term DSCR loans, like short-term rentals, but they've now gotten into them as well. And those have actually been coming out pretty good too, as far as rental income compared to the mortgage cost on it. I think there's another thing that you might be thinking of on that, Jeff, and that is um, if you're going to, let's say you're in a primary house right now, you want to keep that house and move on and purchase another house, right? But you want to rent out that first house that you bought and lived in for a period of time. You can use, if you have a rental contract in place, um, before you close on the other property, you can use 75% of that rent added to your income to qualify for that other property.
I thought there had to be a history of a rent, but you can just have the agreement and that would work?
For the DSCR you're talking
No,
about?
for the other one, not the DSCR, for the other one that
Um,
I was thinking about.
No, you don't. You just have, if you have a contract in place, and if you don't have a contract, like you don't, have something right away. I can't say I'm a fan of them, but there are places out there like Renters Warehouse and other things that can get you tenant quickly should you need to put something in place to get it out there. But I'm sure there's other companies too. It's just that's the only one I'm familiar with.
And then my last question is on that first, I think one of the first loan things you were mentioning where you could get up to 7 grand free in
Yeah,
closing costs or whatever.
free
So is,
money. I just closed one last week.
yeah, can you use that in conjunction with like state grants and stuff? And what's the incentive? I mean, how are they making their money back on that 7 grand or whatever?
Well, they're not making their money back on it, to be honest. They're just keeping the loan. They're keeping it in-house is what they're doing. So a lot of times these loans are bundled together. They're put together after they're closed and they're put together in a portfolio and sold on a secondary market in a big conglomerate of loans. And on this particular one, they actually keep it in-house and manage it in-house. So they're getting the interest on it. That's how they're making their money back.
Okay,
Yeah, that make
slowly
any
over time.
sense?
Okay.
Lovely over time. Yeah. One month at a time, every 30 days they're getting paid.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And you can use that in conjunction with like a state grant or community grants.
Well, as a broker, I don't have access to a lot of the state grants, right? Because it's such a funny deal. They're kind of in cahoots with the local banks more so than they are as a broker.
Huh.
So I'm not sure which grants you're talking about on the state side. Which ones do you have one in mind, Jeff, that you're thinking
Oh, like
of?
there's Minnesota down payment assistance where they'll give you like up to 10 grand. You just have to pay it back, but you get it
Now
free
there's
for no interest.
you do get it free for a while, don't you? But don't you have to pay it back over time?
You eventually have to pay it back if you sell or refinance or whatever, but you
Yeah.
don't pay any interest on it. So it's sort of free-ish money.
Yeah, we had somebody that just closed from a loan like that, and I think they have to hold it for X amount of years, if I'm not mistaken. But they ended up, the agent told me that they ended up having to repay that grant that they got originally when they sold their house to move up. So I'm not sure about all those different ones, to be honest. I can't really answer that one accurately for you, Jeff.
Yeah, I just wonder if you could use it in conjunction. You do have to pay it back as soon as you close or refinance
Yeah,
or
we can't
whatever.
use it in conjunction here in our office, but we do have other programs that were like you can get a what it's basically a second mortgage. It's just like that grant is a second mortgage on it to help with the down payment if you needed that.
All right.
But I actually I like this other program better because I think it's a true forgiven right at signing, so there's no waiting period. I mean, you could sell the day after you close and you never have to pay it back. I like that better.
Yeah, it's
You know, I
better
like
to
that a
not
little
pay it
better.
back.
That works a little better for me. Yeah. It's better for my guys too. I don't have to say, well, I don't know what's going to happen because they change the rules on that stuff so many times anyway at the state. You know how it is. But yeah, thanks for the questions on that. Appreciate it. Who else wants to jump in and make my life fabulous today?
Did you see the other question that walked away in the chat box?
Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't.
That
Do you
2-1
want to
rate buy down, did you say that lasts for a year?
the 2-1 rate buy down is 2 years. So
Okay,
the
yeah, so
first
if
year,
somebody's gonna plan on refinancing or moving again or something, that really makes sense, right?
Getting a better job.
yeah, it's kind of like if you're going to get a better job, or you're going to increase, or actually, even if you're going to move in 2 years and you just want to get in, do some cosmetic lipstick, so, work on it, make the money and get out, you can do that. The first year is 2% less than the standard rate. The second year, it's 1% less. And then the third year, it goes just to the regular locked rate. And that stays for the rest of the loan. So hopefully that answers that question. If not, let me know.
Somebody
Yeah.
else asked if you participate in rate plug.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Randy. Say that again.
Rate plug. I think it's in the MLS.
I
Business.
haven't. I'll be honest, I haven't.
I don't know if it has to be done at your broker level or what, but I know that it allows, I think, you to go into rate plug in the MLS and see what programs are or something exactly. I haven't.
Well, yeah, a lot of times that's connected to kind of what Jeff was talking about in some of those state programs. I call them the funny money programs. And sometimes it's connected in that way. But you'll find that your interest rates typically are a little bit higher by using those programs. So it's kind of a catch 22. Do you plan on staying in the property for 3 years or more? That might make a difference. But usually not. We're actually seeing some really great deals right now in our borrowers actually buying down their interest rate to a permanent level. And I tell people when you do that, like if you can get some seller concessions to pay even an extra 1%, and they can use that money to buy down their interest rate, which means that their payment is going to be cheaper. They can buy more house, right, for that. But it usually takes about anywhere 2.5 to 3.5 years to break even on that buy down. It's kind of interesting. And most people, I don't know, Randy, most people are moving every 7 years? Is that what you've heard now
Yeah, I think
still?
I heard 8 or 9 recently. I've always said
So they're holding out a little bit longer than they once did. Well, if we can ever get some more inventory on the market, that'd be good, right?
yeah.
Well, good deal. Anybody else have any super duper questions? Good holiday recipes you want to share? want to invite me over for holiday. I mean, I'm a foodie, so I'll eat anything. We'll come up with that. Well, thanks everybody for stopping in today, and thanks Randy for allowing me to pop in here too, and
Yeah.
we'll kind of stay in touch um, and go from there.
I did have a request from somebody, but not, not for you, Holly, but an agent had asked if anybody was interested in meeting somewhere like every other week and just having like a little, I guess, kind of brainstorm or powwow or just bounce ideas off of each other. And he said he would like it, but then he said he didn't feel like it. If there's 2 years of experience, he had the ability
Oh,
to host something like that. So I was like, all you have to do is open the door and let everybody
oh God.
you know.
Well, yeah, let's connect afterwards. We'll talk about it because I'm totally all about networking. So I'm like a
Yeah,
network
basically.
guru, and I love it. And I actually love I'll tell you this story, and it's a really cute story, and it's the honest God truth. I helped a realtor who started 3 years ago. Actually, I moved her over to your brokerage, Randy. I won't say who she is, but I helped her move over to your brokerage. Anyway, long story short, I had met with her and kind of like you're talking about people getting together, throwing ideas back and forth, etc. And we were having breakfast one day, and she's actually become a really close friend of mine. And I look up at breakfast, and she's in total tears, and I'm thinking, oh, crap, what did I do? Right? What did I say or what was wrong? And I said, what's wrong? And she says, nobody ever took the time to help me in this business. And I never forgot that because I thought, we all started somewhere, right? And
Yeah.
I don't care if you've been in it 30 years, I still think you can learn from other people.
Yeah, and the idea was that he asked me about joining a team, and I kind of got down to why he asked, and he's basically, you know, he wasn't so much looking for leads; he just wanted to be more, I guess, like a social club type of a thing.
Well,
So
I think it's
that's
I
just
think it's good mentor. Yeah.
if he
Heck yeah,
joins
I
the
think it's
team, no
yeah.
team's going to let him do his own business for 100% and then give him leads at a discount, or at a
Well,
split.
I understand.
I said,
Yeah.
if you join a team, you're going to give up some commission. I mean,
Right.
we have a handful of teams. Home buyers are always looking for some help, and
Right.
but there's always a little give and take. So just having kind of a social group that you guys can bounce off of. I said the Tuesday huddles don't quite allow for interaction like that.
Well, I always think one-on-one is kind of interesting too, and not only that, but we kind of get to know each other as people, right? Versus just, on the business level, like we're doing here
Yep.
today for the most part. But I mean, for instance, something interesting about me, I love to kayak. I mean, I think I was born on water. I'm not sure, but I love to kayak. And anytime I can get out there and do that, I would go 20, 30 miles a day if I could in a kayak. So it's fun, I think, what you're talking about and people getting together and maybe it's something we can explore together later too. But I think it's great just to get to know people on a one-to-one level, you
Yeah.
know?
So if
So
anybody's interested in meeting with some other agents on one of our offices in the casual room or something once a month, just reach out and I'll try to get everybody together. So
yeah, that sounds good. I'm in. I would love that. I love hanging out with people anyway in the industry. We're
yeah.
cool.
Okay, I'll send some messages out sometime soon. Thanks.
Yeah, okay, sounds great. Hey, thanks for thinking of that, Randy.
Thanks for your
Anybody
time,
got anything
Holly.
else?
Appreciate it.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
See you
Thank you.
guys.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks for putting up with my loveliness here this morning, but it was fun. Hopefully I didn't bore you too greatly, but some good info anyway. All right, take her away, Randy. I'm gonna just listen in for the rest of
I
the
don't know
day.
how.
Thanks, guys.
I'm all
You're
set.
beautiful.
So I mean, I could keep it open. I got a woman begging for some help on a transaction here. So
Hi, Lindy.
you guys have a good week.
All right, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Holly.